Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through a talk that I gave at our Healthpreneur Live event back in 2018. It's called the Courage Code. And this talk was, I think, really a pivotal moment for the events, and honestly, at the moment in that time, a pivotal moment for me, because the reality is, like, having worked with thousands of entrepreneurs, I see why they get stuck. And it's not about the tactics. It's not about the strategies. There is one thing that's holding you back from everything you want in life. And it's a 4-letter word that starts with F, and it doesn't rhyme with duck. It's fear. And if you don't understand how to move through fear, you will never get where you want to go, ever. And I'm not okay with that. I don't know about you. So I would strongly recommend you set aside the next hour. That's about how long this talk is. You grab a pen, you grab some paper, you start jotting down some notes, and most importantly, you stop fucking around and you actually move through fear to where you want to go. This Courage Code will show you exactly how to make that happen, and I hope you get a lot of value from this video. All right, so we're talking about what I think is a really important topic called the Courage Code. Basically, how to unleash your inner hero and go from where you are to where you want to be. We're all someplace, and we want to be someplace better. Would you guys all agree with that? So I've been doing a lot of thinking about this over the last year and really looking at, like, why is it that some people get stuck? Why can't they move forward? And what really propels other people to move forward? And I'm going to walk you guys exactly through that. But what I'm excited about sharing with you is distinctions that might relate in different ways with a similar type of topic theme. And I think you guys will get some really cool stuff out of this. So first off, what does a clump of hair, an elephant, and a rocket ship have to do with helping you achieve anything you want in life? Well, I'm going to contend that they have everything to do with helping you achieve everything in life. What I've recognized is that all of us have an inner hero. We have a courageous hero residing inside of us that's really been held hostage by years of stuff we're going to talk about. And it's like this little captivated child inside of a cage that's trying to get out. And it's the same underlying issue that is behind why 95% of businesses fail, why 44% of Americans have less than $400 cash for an emergency. And it's also why Americans as a country, as a nation, we can add Canada to that as well, are less happy and less fulfilled than ever before, ranking 18th on the world happiness rankings. What I've recognized is that for most people, fear and comfort are holding them back from the lives they want to live. Let me ask you guys this. How many of you guys want to live an amazing life? How many of you guys want to create a business that has more impact, leaves a positive legacy, and really does something powerful for the people you serve? And how many of you would like to make a lot more money so you can just enjoy life to the fullest? If everyone wants these outcomes, why is it that so few people achieve them? And as I mentioned, it's largely because we are stuck in fear and comfort and allowing that to overshadow the things that are most important to us in life. Over the last 12 months, my team and I have had a lot of conversations with entrepreneurs of all walks of life in our obviously amazing community of health and wellness. And what we recognized is that a lot of people get stuck in their mind. They get stuck with their story. They get stuck with, it's more comfortable knowing the devil you know than the devil you don't know. It's more comfortable to stay in fear and safety than venture out into something that might be a little bit less comfortable. And the one thing I want to contend and really impart upon you guys is that every single one of you has literally a superhero inside of you. And the only reason it's not playing to the fullest is because we are letting fear and comfort hold us back from achieving anything we want in life. How many of you guys agree with that? And if you don't, hopefully after the next 45 minutes, this will make a lot more sense. So over the next 45, 50 minutes, what I'm going to show you is, number one, how to unleash this courageous hero inside of you so that you can go out, boom, and achieve anything you want, big or small. I'm going to push you towards the big. Second is why courage is the key, why we lack courage very often, and then 6 steps to helping you build more courage. And as a result of this, you can go out and really make amazing things happen in your business, in your family life, in your relationships, and really live a life of meaning, impact, legacy, fulfillment. And so I really want to challenge you guys to unlock this hero inside of you to go after whatever it is you want in your life. Here's how most people go about achieving things or thinking they want to achieve things. So they have a desire and then they want the result, right? We can think of a couple cases like that, right? Oh, I just want to lose 20 pounds, but I don't want to do the work. I just want to pop the pill. Now, not everyone is like this, but I think our culture in general, especially now, has been trained and conditioned to follow ease instead of understanding that there's a journey to go through. So whether we're talking about weight loss or building a successful business, okay, I'm starting at ground zero and I want to make $1 million in business. Or I'm starting a new Instagram page or account. Why isn't it growing fast enough? I want 100,000 followers tomorrow. Oh man, it didn't happen after 6 months. This doesn't work. So we have to understand that there's a process involved. There's a lot of discussion about millennials, right? Millennials giving up too easily, looking for the easy way out. Now, this is not all millennials, obviously, but as a whole, our culture has become soft. We've become soft and weaker, and we're looking for the easy way out more often than not. And I think that's really, really crippled our culture and society as a whole. However, there is a sub-movement. When we look at the world of workouts, when all the infomercials were talking about the sauna belts and jiggling with the fat, don't do anything, sit on the couch, here comes P90X. And P90X says, listen, if you want this result, it's going to hurt. You're going to put in the work. But they did pretty well. So what I want to show you guys is something I call the courage code. This is how to get anything you want in life. It doesn't matter what it is. Every single time, it will come down to this. You start off with a vision. You start off with a vision of what it is you want, whether that's getting in better shape, improving your health, building the business of your dreams. It doesn't matter. Then you make a decision. Okay, I'm going to do this. And then after that decision, you take action. Now, the decision and action is where the courage comes in. That is the bridge we all have to walk across to go from where we are to where we want to be. And at the end of this, or as we take more action, we develop competence and ultimately confidence. Does that make sense? The challenge, guys, is that a lot of people want to go from vision right to confidence. And they forget about this thing called courage, which is the journey. And I think we're in a bit of an epidemic where everyone is highlighting the destination. They're highlighting the fancy cars, the private jets, which in a lot of cases are not even their own, and portraying a fake life that not only I think hurts them, but hurts the people that are following this stuff, because then they think this is the important stuff. So we think that people want to see the destination. We think that by being all bravado and showing all of our cool stuff and how much we've succeeded, that's what people want to see. But what the world actually wants to see is the courage. We want to see the decisions, the actions that were taken. This is why we love movies. This is why we love these characters who were reluctant heroes, who they're just kind of living their life and all of a sudden they're called to action against their own will, but for a greater good, they stepped up. And that's why we love story. That's why we love movies, because of courage. Here's another way of looking at this. Everything above this line is comfortable. Casting a vision. You can sit in a chair, you can cast a vision for what you want. Yesterday, we did an activity where you guys were sitting in a chair, you're creating your perfect life vision. We can do that all day long. But things get interesting as soon as we start to go below this line here, which is when we start to look at making a decision. As soon as we say, I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do this anymore, that is where we start getting uncomfortable, and that is where courage starts to kick in. Remember, a decision comes from the Latin root decidere, which means to cut off all other options. You're in or you're out. It's black or white. There is no gray. And that can be very uncomfortable. I'm not too sure if I want to start working out yet. Let me get in shape first. Or I'm not too sure if I'm ready to hire a coach yet. Let me get my business up and running and then I'll be ready for this. Can you guys relate to that? We've all had clients and customers who've gone through this stuff. It's the human condition. It's fine. But if we're aware of this, we can look at how to really harness this. Now, things get a little bit more uncomfortable when we start taking action. In a lot of cases, we might be doing something that we've never done before, or we're trying to learn, or trying to master. And that action, a lot of times, requires us getting uncomfortable. Prime example for me is getting up early in the morning. I'm telling you guys, the worst time of day for me is the time I open my eyes horizontally to getting up vertically. That mind frick, the mental dialogue that's going on in there is the worst. I wish that upon nobody. Can anyone relate to that, or should I check myself in somewhere? Jerry Seinfeld once said, life is terrible when you wake up and you're horizontal, but everything gets great when you go vertical. I'm like, dude, that is so true. So we make a decision to get up early in the morning. All right, tomorrow morning it's gonna be different. I'm going to bed early. I'm going to wake up. Boom, alarm clock goes off. And you're like, I don't know do I really need to get up this early? It won't be the end of the world if I just sleep an extra 30 minutes. And we go through this challenge of having to really build this muscle called courage, which is essentially taking action. And over time, it gets a little bit easier. So the more we do it, the more we practice getting up early, the more consistently we do that, eventually it becomes competence, which is simply a matter of saying, all right, I'm the person who gets up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m, whatever it might be. It becomes a lot easier the more we do it. And eventually we have confidence so that it's not even something we think about. It almost becomes unconscious competence, right? There's the 4 stages of competence. I'm not going to go into that, but it's something you don't even have to think about, that's just the way you do it. That's just as a result of going through this journey. So guys, we have two choices. We have two choices in life, in anything we do. We have the choice of fear or we have the dream. That's it. You can go towards what you want or you can get pulled back into safety and comfort. And the sad reality is that it's a whole lot easier to go back into comfort and safety. It's a whole lot easier to hit the snooze button and stay comfy under that warm duvet. But we don't grow when we stay in fear. We don't grow when we let that little voice in our head keep us in bed or keep us playing small. Now, moving towards our dream requires a lot of courage and energy and effort, and it's uncomfortable, which is why a lot of people don't go after what they want because they're not willing to put in the work. They're not willing to take the courage and really act in a way that is going to move them out of that fear into that dream they want to move into. So why do we lack courage? Why does this happen? Well, let's think about how baby elephants are trained in the circus. So when a circus brings in a new elephant, they usually bring them in as babies, right? Because it's a lot easier to teach a new dog new tricks than an old dog new tricks. So they bring the elephant in, they put a rope around its neck, they attach the rope to the stake in the middle of the circus, and they train the elephant to walk around the circle. And the elephant tries to, naturally move out of the circle, and it gets a little correction, and then it goes back within the circle. It keeps walking around, and week after week, it continues to do that. The trainer conditions him, trains him, corrects him to the point where even as the elephant grows in size to this amazing 1-ton animal, where it has the immense amount of power to break free and go on a rampage, even when they remove the rope from the stake, the elephant continues to walk in the same circle. And that's sad. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever rode or rid an elephant. I haven't, but they're beautiful animals. They're amazing animals, but so too are humans. And the sad reality is that most of us are living like elephants that are living within limits that have been imposed upon us by other people. And so what I want to let you guys in on is that you have more power than you know, and you are living your current life based on how you've been trained and conditioned. Because of this training and conditioning, we have developed ways of thinking and habits that have held us back from what really matters in our life. So I'm going to walk you through the 4 fears and then 3 habits of self-limitation. These 4 fears, the first one is the fear of loss. The thinking there is, what am I giving up or losing by doing this? So if I want to lose weight, oh man, I got to give up my favorite foods. I can't eat pizza and chicken nuggets. Having kids, you lose some of your freedom, right? Starting a business, you lose some of your certainty. So that's fear of loss. Or maybe investing in something. What if this doesn't work out? What if I lose all of my money? Or am I going to sleep on a box on the sidewalk? So that's fear of loss. The second one is called the fear of journey, which is essentially the fear of being consistently uncomfortable. You guys ever get that muscle burn? You know, the phenomenon that happens when you work out at a decent intensity? Has that ever happened to anyone? That's the journey. Shit, come on, get with the program, right? That's what happens when you work out. Now, to illustrate how the fear of the journey kicks in, let me tell you about my mom. So my mom, who I've known all of my life, I would think so, we have moved, and my brother can obviously talk about this, we have moved a lot in our life and all within the same vicinity. Anyways, recently after Amy and I started having kids, my mom was always thinking, I should move out of the city, get a bigger house, whatever, or should I have a condo that's close? But every single one of those moves, which ended up being 4 moves, I think, in the space of 5 or 6 years, every one of those moves, she would come to us and say, oh my God, you guys see the gym at this condo, it's great, or the wellness center in this community. And my brother and I are going crazy because, listen, Mom, in my 38 years, I've never seen you exercise. So why is that? Well, I believe that it goes back to something that she saw, which was her mother having a stroke and becoming half paralyzed when my grandmother, her mother, was in her late 50s. So when my mom would embark upon any type of exercise journey and she'd get a little bit of a sweat on, rapid heart rate, she started to internalize that as, this is not good. Left arm, here I go. So she was afraid of the journey, which was necessary to get her where she wants to get to. And she's still stuck there. And it's really frustrating. But as you guys know, it's very tough to coach your parents. So that's the fear of the journey. Third is fear of the outcome. What happens if I fail? What are people going to think? All these naysayers who've told me that, there's no way this can work, that proved me right again. Or what if I do succeed? What if I have all this amazing success and my business goes like crazy? Can I handle all the headaches? I got to hire people. I have to deal with tax issues. I have to structure the company differently. I've got to look at estate planning now. Can any of you guys relate to that at all? Right? This is something that held me back for quite some time is the headaches. I'm like, do I really want to do that? That's the fear of outcome or fear of success in a lot of cases. Now, I think a lot of us consciously are aware of these, but there's one other fear that I think really cripples us more than anything else, and it really resides under the surface. And this is the fear of rejection. And the fear of rejection is also also known as the fear of being disliked. And this is an epidemic, and I really believe that most people live their lives predicated on the judgment of other people. Most people value the opinions of others about themselves more than they value their own opinion about themselves. Can you guys relate to that? Fear of rejection is so deeply embedded in our DNA. We are social beings. 10,000 years ago, we were hunter and gatherers, tribal beings. If we did something that was not to the liking of the chief, then we're gone. And if we're not in the tribe, we have to fend for ourselves, and the likelihood of survival is minimal. So these are all survival mechanisms that our primitive brain, which is still in here, is still working on. And to this day, we still do things to fit in. And sadly, a lot of times it's to fit in with the wrong crowd, with the wrong tribe. So fear of rejection is something that affects all of us. If you're a people pleaser, if you have a tough time saying no to people, those would be examples of, I don't want people to not like me. Therefore, I will do whatever I have to do, even if I compromise my own happiness to make that happen. How many of you post on social media or send emails to your audience? Only half of you? So let's just say all of you, because I think most of you do. How many of you have ever had this discussion with yourself where you've asked yourself or said to yourself, I don't know if I should be posting more often or sending more emails because people might get pissed off. They might unsubscribe from my newsletter. They might unfollow me on Instagram. Oh my God, that hurts. So we play small. We send one email a month because we are afraid of being rejected by people we don't even know in a lot of cases, or we might piss somebody off. I want to challenge you to piss more people off. Be yourself. And I'm telling you, fear of rejection for me really hits home. So this is a picture of me on the left when I was 16, and this is a picture of me on the right also at 16. In the space of 6 weeks, I lost all of my hair. So to go from pseudo Wolverine to Professor Xavier, minus the wheelchair, in the space of 6 weeks was a little bit of a shock. Now, thankfully, I think I dealt with it pretty well at the time, but the worst part was walking through my high school hallway as a senior and people looking at me like, dude, what is wrong with you? Are you going through cancer or something? Don't come too close. So obviously, I think a lot of us have been on our own health journeys. I vowed to figure this out. And over the next several years, I went to all the doctors, all the specialists. Really nothing worked until I went back to school when I was 25 to study nutrition. And that's where everything clicked. Because up until that point, I was eating a diet of Fruity Pebbles, mini wheats, cheese and toast. My brother and I would fight over the last hot dog in the fridge, and then I would wash it down with some amoxicillin, right? So that's kind of an overview of my childhood. Well, 8 years later, I kind of figured out, hey, maybe your body is a little bit toxic. That's maybe why that happened. So changed some things up, made some improvements. And very quickly, my hair started to regrow. So this is a picture of me when I was 25. And this is actually a picture in our first kitchen in an apartment, third floor of a house. My dog Jax, well, probably not in this picture, obviously, but he was sitting beside me and he had a pee pad right by my IKEA desk, which was in the kitchen. And I would shoot my YouTube videos literally like that. I actually regrew my hair after having lost it, which is yeah, good for you, Jerry, cool. But then something happened. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I was taking Oscar, who was just a little guy at the time, to our doctor. And when I was at the office for his checkup, she's like, hey, you're white or you should probably get a tetanus booster. And I didn't even question her, and I got a tetanus shot. And within 2 weeks, I noticed my hair started falling out again. And at the time, I had no clue what was going on. I'm like, what is going on? Eventually, I kind of pieced pieces of the puzzle together, I think. And either way, the hair was falling out. So my eyebrows were falling out again. The facial hair was going. And by this time, I had built a pretty large following online. 100,000 or so subscribers on YouTube, a big email list. I was quote unquote a health expert in our space. And so now I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, what are people going to think of me? What are people going to think of this health guy who is not even healthy? And so I did what any sane human would do, and I started using my wife's makeup to paint on my eyebrows every single morning. And this is what fear of rejection looks like. And I share this with you because I want to illustrate not only that, but also the fact that I'm a terrible makeup artist. As you can tell, if we were to closely examine the eyebrows here, they don't look alike. But here's the thing. I was willing to look like, in some cases, people would call me a clown in my YouTube comments. I was willing to do that. I was willing to put on this mask because I was afraid of what people might actually think if I didn't have the clown eyebrows on. And I did this for 2 years. Every single morning, Amy, can you go to the store and get some more makeup? I'm running out. I'm telling you guys, talk about a huge weight on your shoulders. When you wear a mask, it cripples you. It just drains your life. And I did that for 2 years. The worst part about that was not the time it took, which actually ended up taking more time than when I had hair and combing it back in the day, but it was not being able to go swimming with my kids, because God forbid the water should wash off the makeup. Or I would tone down my workouts because I didn't want to sweat anymore, because oh my God, what happens if the sweat runs the eyebrows down? These are the ways that I was compromising my life for 2 years because I was afraid of what people might think of me. And then something happened. I was at an event called Awesomeness Fest, put on by Mind Valley. This is a number of years ago in the Dominican Republic. And I had a conversation with 3 people in the same day that changed my life forever. And those conversations I'll be eternally grateful for, and to those 3 individuals, because what they helped me realize is that no matter what, you are beautiful. No matter what, you are loved. And 3, who gives a shit? So at the same time, there's an exercise we had to do at the event, which was bring a memento that you want to give away to someone else, practicing this whole like detachment, non-attachment thing. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't have any jewelry. I don't have any like mementos. Like I don't have my kids with me. I can't give them away. And then it hit me, the friggin' eye makeup, the friggin' makeup. And so what I did is I got back to my room and I looked at the makeup, I broke it in half and I threw it in the garbage. Went to bed that night. I woke up the next morning and I had kind of signed up to do a yoga session on the beach, which was going to be a lot of fun. However, the only difference now was that I didn't have any eyebrows on. So one day I've got eyebrows, the next day I have no eyebrows. So I leave my hotel room and I feel like buck naked. I get out to the beach and immediately it's like, oh my God, are they looking at me? What do they think? Blah, blah, like all that stuff. Get over that eventually, get into the yoga practice, and then we're finishing up the yoga session on the beach under this beautiful warm sun at like 8 o'clock in the morning. And then something amazing happens. I'm lying in Shavasana, eyes closed, and then it starts raining, like a sun shower. Like it's just incredible. And I'm like laying there and like literally tears in my eyes are coming down. I'm like, for 2 years, I've been hiding because of this. And here I am laying here under the water, just who cares, right? It was the most liberating experience ever. Got up off the mat, ran down to the water, jumped into the ocean, and I just had this amazing swim. And I came back out and it was like this amazing rebirth. And I was like a new person. It was absolutely just the most life-changing, period of my life. So then I got back home from the trip. And arguably the scariest moment of my life was what I was about to do next, which was I took out my video camera and I said, okay, I'm going to stop hiding. I'm going to shoot a video to my following and say, here's the deal. Here's what's going on. And so I got out the video camera, stood up against my wall at the time, and I shot this video called My Coming Out Part 2. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to play the video, but if you ever want to watch it, it's on YouTube somewhere. And I'm telling you, like, I was rippled with fear. And there was no one watching the video. I could have not shot the video, but I committed. I made a decision to do this. And then I took action by shooting the video, even though my heart was pounding, and my heart is still pounding actually thinking of this. I shot the video, uploaded it to YouTube, and I was like, all right, whatever happens, happens. As soon as I uploaded it, something really interesting happens. I started getting a lot of comments coming through, and I'm like, oh shit, this is not gonna be good. But it was. Everyone was like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like you're all this just amazing love and feedback. And what I recognized happened in that moment was because I had allowed myself to remove the mask and really be my true self, I had allowed other people to give them the freedom to do the same. And that was a huge lesson for me, is that we live so small because of the fear we have of what other people think that we're not able to fully serve this world. And I'm thinking to myself, if I'm playing small because of these eyebrows, I'm not able to serve. I'm not able to help the people I want to help. And that was a huge catalyst for me. And after that, I was like, I'm going full in. I don't even care now. And so when I talk about fear of rejection, I'm like, I lived this. I lived this for a long time. And it all affects us in some way, shape, or form. But I'm going to help you guys get through this in a couple minutes. But first, there's 3 habits of self-limitation that we become accustomed to thinking and doing based on all of these fears and the way we kind of go about our life. The first one is the wrong point of focus. You get what you focus on. It's as simple as that, guys. Todd used a great example of the visualization, focus on number 1 in ClickBank. He was drinking the Kool-Aid literally from his teacup. He was focused on what he wants. But if we're focused on what we don't want, that's our reality. That's our reality. The second habit of self-limitation is limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs are ingrained habits of thinking that we believe to be very, very true. And these limiting beliefs are very often imposed upon us by our upbringing, our conditioning, our environment, our experiences. And they are the ceiling that says you're capable of this, but no more. You can charge this much, but no more. Limiting belief. I don't know if I could charge that much. Who's going to pay me that? Or I can't start a business. No way. Those are limiting beliefs. And then closely tied with that is self-doubt. self-doubt. Self-doubt shows itself in some interesting ways. And one of the things that we've recognized over this past 12 months especially, is when somebody wants certainty of an outcome, i.e. show me the proof, what that tells me is they don't believe in themselves. They doubt their own ability to figure things out, and that's tied very closely into doubting yourself. And as a result of that self-doubt, they're not able to move forward because they don't have faith in themselves. And when you don't have faith in yourself, you have little faith in other people as well. So these are 3 habits that really, in combination with those 4 fears, hold us back in a very, very big way. But the thing I want to let you guys know is that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You are who you are as a result of your environment. It's as simple as that. The good news is that that can be changed. And in fact, in the year 2000, the Human Genome Project decoded the human DNA. They figured out, hey, this is the GAE sequence, whatever the DNA sequence is. But the interesting thing they found was that 97% of human DNA was actually useless. It was kind of like debris floating in the water. They later went back and looked at that, and they found that 97% of useless DNA, what they coined junk DNA, was actually super important for helping human beings adapt to their environments. And guys, this is very good news. This is very good news for you because this is essentially what we are. We are chameleons. We are chameleons that can adapt. If you grew up in a household of hate and abuse and all that, yeah, that's a shitty upbringing. And you can choose to live your life bringing that story along with you. You know, I'm a victim, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to discount that at all. But here's the thing, guys, is that we can choose, and the key word is choose, to change that narrative. We can choose to put ourselves in better environments, better inputs. We can surround ourselves with better people and feed our mind better things. It's a choice. It's not easy, right? Decision, action is not easy, but it's the only way you can get from where you are to where you want to be. Does that make sense? So with that said, I want to walk you through 6 steps to building that courage so you can walk a tightrope. Not really, but if you wanted to, you probably could. So to illustrate how courage works, think about a rocket ship. So the interesting thing about the rocket ship is that, as you can see and as you probably know, it requires a huge amount of energy to lift off. Almost as much energy as it takes me to get off the couch after I've watched 4 episodes of Vampire Diaries, right? That kind of energy. In fact, the 1969 Apollo 11 mission, they used so much energy that was more than the output of 490 school buses, just to give you a sense of how much energy is required to move one of these rockets. But the cool thing that happens is as this rocket climbs higher and higher, what happens? Air gets thinner, becomes a little bit easier, there's less resistance. And so the same thing happens with courage, is that the more you execute, the more you demonstrate and exhibit courage, the easier it gets, because courage is a muscle. The more you use it, better it gets. Life doesn't get easier, guys. You just get better. So, step number 1 to building more courage is to flip your fears. I believe that the quality of your life in a large way is determined by the quality of questions you ask yourself. Why is this happening to me? Is a terrible question to ask yourself. Why is this happening for me? Is a much better question to ask yourself. So, I'm going to give you a couple examples of this. So, fear of loss. If we're worried about, oh my God, what if I lose this money? What if I lose whatever it is I'm scared of losing? What you have to train your mind to do is focus on the positive. It's as simple as that. Coal miners, or miners in general, they have miner caps, the flashlight on. And that flashlight can only look at one thing at a time. So you're either focused on the gold or the dirt. But the thing is, it's your choice. And yes, it takes training to work this mind back on the right track. You have to focus on the positive. So some questions to help you do that. I love this question. What's the worst that can happen? Oh, I invested a couple $1,000s in this program. It didn't work. Are you going to be out on the street? No. You guys invested a couple $1,000s to come here in a lot of cases. What's the worst that can happen? Well, the worst that can happen would be your plane crashed. Thankfully, that didn't happen, right? And the likelihood of that happening is less than a lot of other things. But the worst that can happen is that, you meet a couple cool people and what's the worst that can happen? Second, what's the opportunity I'm missing by not doing this? What is the opportunity I am missing by not doing this? And third, what will my life look like once I've accomplished this? All of these focus back to the positive and for the majority of them. What will my life look like once I've accomplished this? Focus on those goals. Focus on that vision. Create that vision board. Whatever you want to do. Get your mind living where you want it to be. Second is the fear of the journey. I love this one, to be very honest with you, because it's we focus on what we know as Kaizen, which is constant, never-ending improvements. So if we're afraid of getting uncomfortable, well, how do we reframe that? We can ask ourselves a question like this: how will I become a better version of myself by going through this process? This is such a great question to ask yourself, because most of you guys, I would assume, have growth as one of your major core values in life. And if you're a growth-oriented individual, this is a great question to ask, because, okay, yes, it might be uncomfortable. Yes, I might not know this, but how do I become a better version? What skills and capabilities do I develop by going through this? Which is the next question. Third, fear of outcome. Again, we focus on the positive. And this is, guys, it's not about like positive thinking, rah, 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 everything's good. But there's an element you have to focus on the thing you want, because otherwise you will paralyze yourself in worry, anxiety, doubt, and you're not going to move forward. So what's the best case scenario once I reach this goal, right? Again, this kind of relates back to what will my life look like once I reach this? How do I win by doing this? And if it's helpful, guys, write these questions out and put them on your wall in front of your computer, because these are not normal questions that we ask ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And all this is a matter of training your mind so that you become the chameleon you want to be, the best version of yourself, to have that mindset that can take on anything, because even if you don't know how, you can figure out a way. This is a great question, especially if you're afraid of success. If needed, can I summon the support and guidance at this new level to help me through uncertainty? So if your business explodes and you're making tens of millions of dollars, all right, can I maybe talk to a lawyer about how to structure things properly? Yeah, I probably can. I don't have to know all the answers, but I can get the support to help me. And then finally, the fear of rejection. Here, we focus on our higher self. Yesterday, I talked about how my true self is over there, and my whole life is moving closer to that. So by the time I leave this planet, I basically meet my higher self, my true self, and the guy's like, dude, well done. Well done. And we have to go through this to get closer to that version of ourselves. So questions. If we are worried about what other people are going to think of us or being disliked, what would I have to do to demonstrate even more of myself that would allow me to connect even better? Let me break that down. We crave connection, and the only way to get connection is to be vulnerable. But if we're vulnerable, that also opens us up for rejection. So the only way to connect deeper with people is to become a better, higher version of our true self, which means cut the bullshit, get rid of the mask. It exposes you to maybe being a little less comfortable, but it opens the possibility for true connection with yourself and for other humans. And how can I serve others in a better way? So if I'm worried about what my eyebrows look like, I'm worried about me. It's all about me. It's all about me. What are people going to think? We're so narcissistic that we're so focused. When we're stressed, we're focused on ourselves. And instead of focusing on ourselves, how can I be of better service to others and move through that? Okay, step 2 to building more courage is focus on what you want. So if you want what it is you want, you have to be looking where you want to go. If you want the gold, look for the gold. If you want the dirt, you'll find the dirt. Focus on what you want, because where attention goes, energy flows, and results show. When you focus all of your energy on the one thing that works in your business, all of your attention goes there, all of your energy goes there, and results show right there. But when you're spread too thin, it's not going to happen. So I'm going to tell you about the $300,000 gamble and how the importance of positive focus, or focusing on what you want, really is important, or it was important in this case. So 5 years ago, I wrote my first book, The All Day Energy Diet, and I was obsessed. My sole goal was to hit #1 on the New York Times list. So very much like what Todd did, I didn't paint a cup because I wasn't that craft oriented, I guess. But what I did is I created a vision board, I put it on my phone, and like all of us do, when I was sitting on the toilet every morning, I was looking at my phone and looking at that vision board. So part of one of the visions there was I took an image of the New York Times top 10 list, top 10 books. I photoshopped out the first one. I put my name and my book in that first slot. And I looked at that every single day like I was delusional. Kept going. Now, in this process, I also did something really important, which is actually doing stuff over the next 8 months to make sure that would happen. So we tested and all sorts of different funnels and all sorts of stuff. And I had confidence that this was going to be an amazing book launch. Not only were we going to hit #1 on the list, but all of our promotional partners who promoted the book would actually make money on a book launch, which is very rare. So there was one dilemma. We hired a marketing company to help us with distribution of the books. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but if you want to hit the New York Times list, you got to do a couple things to help distribution with books. We invested $300,000 that I did not have to do that. So getting closer to the time where I had to send the money in to this company, and I'm about $150,000 short. And I'm thinking to myself, this is getting uncomfortable. Okay, that pit in your stomach, can't sleep at night. So I started calling in some favors and I said, hey guys, are you looking for an investment opportunity? I said, if you loan me this money, I'll give you X number of percentage points and I'll give it back to you within 1 week of the book going live. That was my promise because I knew that our funnel was working and that I could repay that money very quickly. So one guy stepped up. He said, okay, cool. I'll loan you the money at this percent interest, all good. So cool, we charged along. 2 days before the money is due, he pulls out. 2 days before was a Friday night. The money was due on a Monday morning. Now, I don't know how it works in the States, but there's not a lot of transactions going on the weekends with banks and so forth. I got really pissed because I felt betrayed. And as I talked about yesterday, unwavering commitment, keeping your word, that was a prime example of not doing that. And I got very uncomfortable because now I could have been paralyzed by fear, but I didn't have time to do that. I said I needed to make this happen no matter what. So I kept focusing on the goal. I kept focusing. I need to make this happen no matter what. And I took action. I reached out to everyone I knew. I said, dude, I need a big favor. Can you loan me this money? No, man, you're resourceful. You'll figure this out. Thanks a lot. Reached out to another person. I wish I could. Can't help you out. 2 people stepped up and I will be eternally grateful for them. They're incredible human beings, not just because they loan me money, but because they're incredible human beings in the first place. They lent me the money literally in the 12th hour. We sent the money in, everything worked out. And what I'm most proud of was I paid both of them back within 7 days of our book going live because I knew based on taking action and staying focused on the outcome that this was going to work. So a couple weeks later, I get a call. It was Tuesday night around 6 o'clock. I'm having dinner at home with the kids and Amy, and I get a call, and it's my agent. And she's like, you hit number 2. I'm like, what do you mean we hit number 2? She's like, you hit number 2 on the New York Times list. I was like, are you freaking serious? I'm like, that's amazing. Who finished number 1? She's like, Peter Thiel, like some guy who like co-founded Facebook or something. I was like, all right, I'll give him number 1. It's all good. So the point of this story is that in spite of this massive amount of discomfort and worry and anxiety, I had to stay focused on the prize. I had to stay focused because I had no choice. And because of that, and because I did whatever I had to do to make it happen, it all worked out. Now, I'm not saying you have to do, investing $300,000 in that. That's just the kind of lunatic that I am. Step 3 to building more courage is you have to make it a must. You have to make it a must. If you are hungry and there is no food, you learn how to hunt. It's as simple as that. There's a lot of motivation that comes from desperation. And a very dangerous place to live is called comfort. Very dangerous place to live. And I'm going to challenge you that every single person in this room is living in comfortable land, myself included. Because life's okay. It's pretty good or it's amazing. And when that happens, the desire to move to the next level is a lot less. It's like that thermostat example that we often hear about, right? When stuff is shitty, it was like, all right, get back up to our set point, and then it's good enough, we'll go back down a little bit. So I'm going to make a bold claim here, and it's this. If you don't have what you want, then what you want is really a nice to have and not a must have. If you don't yet have what you want, it's a nice to have, it's not a must have. Let's just be honest, guys. Let's just be honest about it. Because if it was a must-have, you would have it. I read a book years ago called The 1 Minute Millionaire by Robert Allen. And it was a book, I think the premise was the main character's daughter gets kidnapped for a ransom of $1 million that had to be paid back in a month, I think. Now, if that happened, would you do whatever you had to do to make $1 million? Yeah. That's the point, is you need to figure out a way to make it a must. And this is tough to do when things are okay. Can you guys relate to this? I'm telling you, it's a good place to be in, but it's also a dangerous place to be in if you have higher ambitions for yourself. So how do we do this? Well, let me share 2 examples with you. 2 clients. Well, actually, one of them is not a client. Todd is a gentleman I spoke to earlier this year who booked a call with us and said, I'm a trainer, I have great ability, but I'm struggling. I'm working like 16-hour days. I need to figure this out. And I said, why? Like, why do you want our help? Why is this a must for you? And he said, my son has a disability and I want to be with him more. I'm like, dude, that's amazing. That is amazing. Unfortunately, Todd let fear overshadow his dream. And because of that, he is still being underpaid. He is still working way too many hours and he's still not spending enough time with his son. That is selfish, as far as I'm concerned. Pamela, on the other hand, is another lady I spoke to earlier this year. She also wanted our help, but in her case, it was because she wanted more money to support her mom, but also to really unleash this legacy that she wanted to build. And at the time, she was in a bit of a difficult situation financially, so she couldn't do it. And I said, that's fine. It's all good. It is what it is. Here's the cool thing though. Several months later, she actually reached out to Jackie, one of our team members, and she got a conversation going again with Jackie. Apparently, Pamela has taken a second job, even though she was working full-time in a hospital, to have the funds to invest to work with us. That's courage. That's courage. They both had a why. They both had, I need to do this. The only difference was that Pamela let her dream overshadow her fear. That's the only difference, guys. And I'm super stoked for us to be working with Pamela. She's an amazing person. So how do we make it a must? I'm going to give you 3 ways. Number 1 is you have to associate your identity as a human to the outcome you want. If you want to get up earlier in the morning, you have to really just indoctrinate yourself to say, I am the type of person that gets up early. That is who I am as a person. So you can start the sentence with, I am whatever. It's a very powerful start to any sentence because what follows is really who you are. I am the type of person that follows through no matter what. I am the type of person that keeps my word. The second way is to make it about more than just you. See, initially we get into business, we want to make a certain amount of money so we have a nice lifestyle and we can support people and so forth. But then we get comfortable. And again, we have to find that next level. And a lot of times you have to think outside yourself. You have to get outside of your own way to think about, okay, who's the one person I'm going to do this for? Or who are the underprivileged kids I'm going to help? Or what is this segment of this market that I really want to elevate to the next level? Think about somebody or a group of people outside of yourself that will get you out of bed early in the morning, that will get you putting that extra rep when it really matters most. And the third way is to apply the pressure. Apply the pressure. And that means create deadlines, make public declarations, hire a coach, pay somebody money to keep you accountable to doing the stuff you want to do, to calling you out on your bullshit and to helping you really unleash that hero so you can play life at a bigger level. It all comes back to reconnecting with your why. You have to live in that world of why and really feel it. Step 4 is take action. This is a huge component to courage, right? You make a decision and you take action. Now, action, depending on what it is you want to achieve, could be a couple days, it could be a couple months, it could be a couple years. You have to understand, though, that's not going to be perfect. And you guys know what this is? Rubber duckies. Have you ever heard someone say, I need to get my ducks in a row first? I need to get my ducks in a row. Well, what I want to do to these ducks is take an axe and smash them because you will never have your ducks in a row. I don't have my ducks in a row and I never will. You're always going to make mistakes. It's never going to be perfect and it's never going to get done. Just be okay with that. You can get better and improve and make things a little bit better over time, but it's never perfect because perfect doesn't exist. How many of you guys learned how to ride a bike after you knew how to ride a bike? How many of you guys hired a personal trainer after you got in great shape to help you lose weight? Do you see what I'm getting at? Is you can't wait for everything to be perfect before you take action. You take imperfect action and you just go. That's it. You build the bridge one step at a time. You don't necessarily know where it's going. We don't always know what's happening in a year from now, but we'll figure it out. So courage is very much like building a muscle. And the way of thinking about this is using an analogy of, let's say we're lifting a 50-pound weight. Does 50 pounds change from today to next year? Is 50 pounds still 50 pounds? Unless gravity changes somehow, it's still 50 pounds. But what happens if we train with 50 pounds or heavier and lift that consistently? Does it feel heavier or lighter? Lighter. So if we strengthen our muscles through repetition by doing the right things, whatever the weight is, it feels easier for us over time. And courage is the same way. The more you exhibit courage, the more you take action, the easier it feels relatively to where you started. Remember, life doesn't get easier. You just get stronger and you get better. So again, courage is like a muscle. We strengthen it by use. How do we do that? Well, you take action. You do little things every single day that make you feel uncomfortable. So a couple examples. Turn off your cell phone for an entire day. That's a tough one. Get up an hour earlier. Say hi to somebody on the street. Make eye contact with them and say, hey, what's up? High five. Set up a lemonade stand on your driveway and have your neighbors be like, what is this lunatic doing? Do things that make you feel uncomfortable that other people are going to judge you for. You do these little things over time, you will increase your courage in all aspects of life. Okay, step 5 is believe. If it's not believable to you, then it's impossible to you. Set a goal that will thrill you when you make it, but not so far that you don't believe you can. What we're striving for is this feeling of expectancy. Expectancy is this notion that, hey, it's coming, baby. It's coming. It's all working out. It's where belief matches desire. And expectancy is the opposite of doubt and worry. So, if you don't have what you want, then there is some degree of doubt in your way. And how do you know that? Well, you can look at your results or you can look at how you feel. If you ever feel that butterfly feeling in your stomach, that's doubt, that's worry, that's anxiety. That's okay. Just acknowledge it. But what we want to do is we want to be able to get ourselves into a state of belief so that we can feel good on a daily basis, because when we feel good, things just happen. Things happen, and then we have the confidence, the energy, the enthusiasm to take more action because we know it's happening. But if we don't believe something is going to work out, are we more or less likely to take action? Less. So we have to trick ourselves into believing that what we want is already here. Let me give you an example. I love tennis, as you guys know. This is a recent picture from the US Open. Novak Djokovic won against Juan Martín del Potro. Interesting backstory. So Juan Martín del Potro won the US Open like 9 years ago, I think. And then something happened. He went through years of wrist surgeries and injuries and all sorts of stuff. 9 years on and off the tour, dropping his ranking, all sorts of stuff. He comes back to the US Open ranked third in the world this year after coming out of like the ethers. Novak Djokovic, 2015, Jeff, am I right on that? 2015, 2016 had like the run of history, winning almost like everything. 2015, just wins everything. Untouchable. And then something happens. Switch goes off in his head. He falls out of love with the game, had a bit of an injury, totally lost his drive and motivation. Then, however he did it, I don't know. He made a huge comeback. And this year, they're saying like, again, he's had one of those years where he has become absolutely untouchable. He's back to his old self, perhaps even better. Now, I want to share something that Djokovic, who if you're not following on Instagram, follow him. He is an amazing human being. Like, it's unbelievable. And he doesn't get enough credit for who he is. I want to share this with you guys. This is what he wrote in one of his posts. And I'm just going to circle it here. So it's circled here. It says, unbelievable is usually the most common way to explain extraordinary success. To me, that expression negates the most powerful emotion that one can have, belief. All this time, belief is what pushed me through moments of doubt, pain, uncertainty. I was stuck at some points and results were not showing. Everybody offered their opinions and advice on what to do and what was happening to me. And I can't say I didn't hear any of it. I did. I got confused at times. But there was one thing that kept me going. Belief in myself, my abilities, my skills and talents, and my resilience. Belief that I am meant to do this. The biggest takeaway from these fantastic past few months is that unbelievable doesn't exist. Limits do not exist. When you see it in your mind, you can achieve it in your life. When you show up with your courage, confidence, and belief, you are already a winner despite the actual results. Your character prevails and you build your habits, and your habits bring you one step closer to your goals. So my friends, embrace adversity and trust in the power of belief. It can take you anywhere. Like, come on, right? It's incredible. Belief is important. And the final step is to surround yourself with courageous people, because courage is contagious. How many of you guys have ever gone skydiving before? Did you go by yourself the first time? Did you pay the pilot, say, let's do it? 10,000 feet, baby, open the door, I'm going. No, what do? We went with someone who had the courage, who had the experience, who's already there. We borrowed that courage in the form of strapping to them. And when I say we, I've never done it. So I'm just, as a collective. And they just went. And then it became easier the next time if you want to get. So surround yourself with other people, because by seeing what they're doing, by having conversations in this room and outside of it, you see what's possible. You see people taking acts of bravery and being courageous and moving forward and believing. And you want to borrow their belief and borrow their courage until you build it up enough in yourself so that it's just second nature. This is a picture from one of my events in Orlando, Celebration to be exact, a couple years ago. And there's some pretty powerhouse players. I want to highlight this guy for a second. So Tyler is an amazing person. He came out to one of my first events as wet behind the ears, newbie. He just had a product. He's like, I'm just going to work on this one thing, singular focus, and I'm going to make this work. Just starting off in his online business. This is, I think, 6 years ago. Comes to the mastermind, does his stuff with us for 2 days, and goes on a nice journey. Fast forward to today, he now runs an 8-figure online fitness company. Now, I'm not taking any credit for his success. I'm actually giving all the credit to him because he showed up. He showed up even when his ducks weren't in a row. He showed up and he said, listen, I'm going to learn, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to surround myself with other courageous people who are going to help me figure this out and then figure it out more. Because here's the thing, guys, is that lone wolves die young. So here's how this works is when you, as the leader of your business, as a visionary, when you want to do something, when you have a vision, we did this yesterday, you focus on the what do you want to have happen? What do you want to achieve? You get clarity on that. And then you ask yourself the question, why? Why do I want to do this? Why is this important to me? And I'm going to make a suggestion, like I did yesterday, that the more you live in this world of what and why, the better off you're going to be. So at this point, there comes a little juncture in the road, a little fork in the road, if you will. And what a lot of amateurs do is they ask the next question, which is, okay, I know what I want, so I know why I want it. Then they ask the next question, which is, how. How do I go about doing this? And what that leads to is a whole path of nonsense that eventually leads to an outcome. But I also call this the Home Depot path. It's the I'm going to build my own house path. It's I'm going to fix my own shingles path. Is, oh man, my toilet's plugged. I'm going to figure out how to unplug it. And that's fine. You could do that if you want to spend years, a lot of money, and a lot of frustration doing that. What smart entrepreneurs do is the opposite, is they don't ask how, they ask who. Who can help me get to where I want to get to? Who can help me achieve my what and why? And as a result, they are going to the same outcome, right? But this person achieves the outcome a lot faster. And so as a result of that, they have a lot less friction in their business, in their lives. They have a lot more certainty because now they're not trying to reinvent the wheel, and they get there a lot faster. And this is why I do what I do. This is why I love working with entrepreneurs, because we provide the who, because we have figured out the how. This is extremely important to understand, guys, because if you try to do it all by yourself, it's not going to happen. And if it does, it's going to take a very, very long time. It's the number one mistake I ever made in my life in business, was going from 2006 to 2009 all by myself, thinking I was too smart, too cool for school, trying to figure it all out and not doing so. Everything changed for me in 2010 when I attended my first live event, and right away I hired my first coach. I saw him on stage and I'm like, dude, I got to figure out a way to work with you. Everything changed from that moment. So to wrap up, there are 3 truths I want to leave you with. Number 1 is that the tools, the tactics, and the strategies are useless if you don't have courage to take action. That's number 1. 2, courage is uncomfortable. Deal with it. The only way to grow is to be uncomfortable. In fact, comfort is the enemy of growth. So if you want to get to where you want to get to, be okay with being uncomfortable. And 3 is we are often less courageous when there's more at stake, but that's exactly when we have to have the most courage. So guys, courage is a muscle. It's something you build with repetition. It's something by using it, you get better at, you get more confidence in, and that is how you grow as a person. That's how you achieve your goals. That's how you unleash the hero inside of you, so that you're no longer letting fear and comfort dictate your life. You're allowing your dreams to be the big mover of everything you do. And the thing is, you don't have to be fighting wars or saving lives to be courageous. You just have to take daily actions that get you a little bit out of your comfort zone, that help you move through fear so that you develop that courage, you grow that muscle, you become a better version of yourself. And as a result, you can take on and accomplish anything you want in this life. Remember, you don't have to be a superhero to be a little bit more heroic every single day. I believe in every single one of you guys. Thank you.